for what I put my father through. I got guilt for what I put my son through. You know, and I've got guilt of what I put my friends through, which I've got to live with. You know, I have to take hold of that and own it. And that sometimes is why when I apologise and you say never say sorry, that's me. That's now what I feel I have to do. You know, and it's an apology for being that way inclined, if that makes sense.
I understand.
And it's not just an apology to you. Sometimes I'm apologising to everybody that I put out that day.
Yeah.
You know, and the one thing that I got from all of it is empathy.
Yeah.
And I don't look at people the same way as I used to. I don't judge people as quickly as I used to. I look at I look for the backstory or what leads up to it, or you know, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
You know, now I suppose if you look at things, I purchased a boat, which I never thought I'd do 3 years ago. I like my own space a lot more than I used to. You know, and you sort of find your own little comforts in life, and it's stuff like that that you've got to look at and look forward to.
Yeah.
I'm still being monitored 3 monthly on medication. I'm still only being given or prescribed 2 weeks of medication at a time. No, that's fine, Observer, I'll do that, sweet. So just to recap, I worked through COVID, long hours. I was a lorry driver for I was a lorry driver for 20 years, but I was working for a supermarket chain. I did, my mood began to falter because I was looking for answers from my mother, which was a big thing. That's how it started, but I was never going to get. She's still on the planet, but I was never going to get the answers I craved. And I have no relationship with my siblings, all three of them. I have no relationship with my mother. I have a relationship with my father, and that's about it. I took an overdose 3 years ago, which put me in a 3-day coma. I woke up to my son at the end of the bed, and all he said was, "I love you, Dad." And that was it. He took my phone off me, he wouldn't let me have my phone. He nursed me for the best part of, to be fair, he's still nursing me now, but he nursed me at home. He stayed with me for over a week. I'm still battling today. I had nearly 2 years of counselling on and off. But it's so important to understand. For me, it's trying to catch it early. It's like anything else and trying to catch it early. So if you find that your partner or your father or your son or as moods changed, or they're different to how they are at school when they come home from school, or to be different from how they are when they come home from work, and just to ask, you know, and just to say, are you okay? Is everything all right? You know, because for me, that was the start of me. Was I'd have 901 things running around in my head and no answers for them. And it's, you put them in a box and you put them in a box, and that box gets full, and mine exploded. Yeah. Mine absolutely exploded, and I always say it was like hitting a brick wall.
Yeah. I can relate to that.
People say suicide is selfish. Do you know what? I half agree with that. I half agree with that. And this is my personal feelings because I've lived it. I half agree with it because at that moment of time, in that manic state, people talk about manic states on here. They have no clue. Yeah. No clue. Because for me, my manic state was nothing else mattered apart from that pain. I want that pain to go away. And I thought, like everybody else thinks, people will be better off without me. I won't be a burden. I won't be a problem. Yeah, there'll be 2 weeks, and then it'll all go back to normal. And
yeah,
you know, it's difficult to put into words. But even now, I still suffer madly with guilt. And if I feel I've upset somebody, or I've said I'll do something and won't do it, I'll always apologise. I'll always apologise. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah, the selfishness for me is a 2-part situation. Yes, it is on one hand, and no, it isn't on the other, because the selfishness, if that makes sense, was the fact that I didn't want anybody else to suffer the pain that I was going through in order to be nursing me back, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I understand.
I didn't want them to have my problems. That's where my thoughts came in.
Yeah.
But yeah, for me, mental health is massive across the board, and I can't speak for you ladies, but I would imagine that a change in mood, or whether that's heightened excitement or very low, quiet moods, you know,
it's pretty
yes,
similar.
I can recap. Yeah, I can recap. Mine started at COVID. I'm just going to go through it again. It's going to be tough, but I will go through it again. Mine started during COVID. I was a normal lorry driver, full of beans and had an opinion on everything. I started as a lorry driver, and I went from a 50-hour week to a 70-hour week driving lorries for a supermarket company. And we all remember the toilet roll saga and getting all that out. So I was work, home, work, home, work, home. So it was eat, sleep, repeat, like a lot of other people. When COVID 1, or the lockdown 1 finished, we had the help out to eat out. Thank you, Rishi. You know, and my best friend got COVID. My best friend and her husband, who is also my best friend, was taken into hospital, into intensive care. The husband came out. He recovered, and I was on the phone to him every day because his wife didn't come out. She passed away due to COVID.
I'm so sorry that does it. I'm so sorry about that.
And that struck me, and I was actually going through a town called. Yeah, I was coming back from one phone call. I pulled over in Glossop, and it was my best friend, and he says, "We are turning the machine off. It's time for you to say goodbye. We're going to put you on loudspeaker so she can hear you, and it's time for you to say goodbye." So I'm sat you imagine the scene. I'm sat on a Saturday morning, going through a town centre, saying goodbye to my best friend over the phone. Then I came, obviously we had that, and then there was only the 18 people going to the funeral, and all died with that one. And this lady was the salt of the earth. You know, which she had 5 family, all of them. She was that sort of lady. So, you know, it wasn't. Yeah, it was a very tough, and still is a tough pill to swallow, that one. It might be my signal because I'm on the boat. So,
okay.
Obviously, then I was told after COVID or the lockdown had finished, I was asked to leave my family home that I'd spent 6 years helping to build. I think it was, I no longer love you. We've not done anything for 5 years, which obviously for 3 years we've been in COVID. So
yeah,
and I've been working all the way through that. So then I moved back here, which is in Blackpool, and I don't mind doxing myself. I moved back to Blackpool. Once I was in Blackpool, I then contracted COVID myself and spent a day in hospital because I had what they called a quiet lung. So one lung wasn't working as well as the other one. That's why I was taken in. I then saw some social media posts from my ex, which were being inflammatory, and I exploded on top of everything else. And I ended up taking an overdose, and I struggled with that up until that point.
Signal going again.
It just all blew, and I took an overdose. I then spent 3 days in a coma to wake up to my son at the foot of the bed. Is my signal going? It's dipping, isn't it?
It's dipping a little bit, but keep going. It's okay.
And when I woke up, my son sat at the end of the bed, and if anybody's seen pictures of my son, he's a bright red-headed lad. At 19 at the time, he's got proper red hair. I love you, that. And so I then came out after some work with the crisis team, and I then took, and I will advise anybody who thinks about having counselling, take counselling.
Yeah.
Take counselling, because it helped me. And it was quite funny, because my last counselling session, I turned round to the lady and I went, "You don't say very much, do you?" She went, "It's not my counselling session." She went, "It's yours." She went, "I'm here to put keywords in. I'm here to listen and to guide you on a different way of thinking."
Yeah.
And it's surprising how much that works.
It does work for some people. Go on, sorry.
No, I'm going to say, and now I had a bad week last week, as you're aware, and I very nearly rung the council team again. And and that's 3 years on.
Yeah. You need to.
Now my battle is every single day.
Yeah. It's unfortunately when you've got mental health. It's again. I'm gonna refer back. It's to the grief cycle. So let's say you take the grief cycle and it's for mental health. You're always at some point going to be on that mental health cycle, all the way through your life, from the minute you unfortunately start suffering with mental health to the minute that you're not on the planet anymore. A lot of people do struggle with the fact of having mental health, the fact that they've had to stay strong for so long, and they're suffering with it. And I find, correct me if I'm wrong, Dazzy, but I think that men in general struggle more because they're prouder. They don't want to blow the facade of being strong, being manly, and if they start talking about their emotions and their mental health, people may perceive them as not being manly, which is completely, in my opinion, it's completely the other way around. I'd say if you've got the strength to talk about your feelings, whether you're a man or a woman, that's strength, that's courage, that is power in my eyes. It was
my last hurrah. That was my last chance, was that to be able to talk. And I know some people can't. I know some people find it extremely difficult, and I understand that. I can empathise with that. Because mine's built up and built up and built up.
Yeah.
And like I said, everybody's journey is different. Now, you're saying about between men and women. I can't speak for you ladies. I mean, the one thing I will say is you don't get the man up comment, and you don't get the suck it up, buttercup comments, or, you don't have that egotistical vibe that goes with it, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
That's what we suffer. Now, I will say my father's old school is a boomer. He was born in 49. So everything is black and white with him. Everything is black and white. There's no grey areas. The one thing he did when I spoke to him, because obviously my son let him know, and the one thing he did was he went out and he learnt about it.
Yeah.
And he listened to the sports. I think there was a cricketer and a rugby player.
Yeah.
And he also read Gary Speed's book, if you remember Gary Speed.
Yeah, I know who he is,
And what happened there. And he says, I still don't understand it, but I don't need to. You're my son. you're going through it, so I can empathise and I'll try and support you through it.
Yeah.
You know, and that's a big thing for me. That's a massive thing for me.
It is, and the fact that someone from that generation, someone who's black and white, set in the ways, tells you the fact that they've took it off their own back to go and educate themselves to then be able to help you and to see what you're going through. I wish that more people from those generations would do that, because when you look at like this app and you see people who are from like the 50s, 60s, 70s, I'm not going to say names, but we all know, you can gather who I'm talking about. They act in ways that they don't understand, they're ignorant, they're quite rude, and it just goes to show that your dad doing that for you goes to show that not everybody from that generation is like that.
That's right. That's right. And
Thank you, William.
I think that's the same with all generations. I would have never thought that my son was like he was. Mm-hmm. You know, and so you can go down to the I can't say it, but millennials, which is what he is, mm-hmm. and you know, even he actually went and did a 10,000-foot skydive for mine, based on what happened with me. He raised charity, you know, and he went and did a skydive, and I can't, no chance can I jump out of a plane, but he did that, and he wanted to do that.
Yeah.
You know, and that's his way of dealing things. You know, the only other side I will say is that I also mourn. I mourn who I used to be. Yeah. Because I'm no longer that person.
Yeah.
You know, and I find that tough. Because obviously you've known that. For me, I'd known that person 46 years.
Yeah.
You know, I'd known that person for 46 years, and all of a sudden, you know, now I'm a 3-year-old again. I've got to learn to understand this person.
Yeah. It's a fact.
If that makes sense, because you're not who you were.
Exactly. It's like, there's a quote from Doctor Who. It's something like along the lines, I can't remember word for word, but it's okay to change as a person, but as long as you remember all the people you used to be before. And I always relate to that quote so much. Mickey said, "Dazette, would you like her to hear her mental health story?"
Yeah, I'm happy.
Mickey, do you want to come in the box?
I will say, while you're getting Mickey up, I will say that, you know, the one thing that I heard, a brilliant quote that I heard, and it's New Zealand's go-to word, mm-hmm. and it's not weak to speak, mm-hmm. and I love that quote, absolutely love that quote. Morning, sweetheart.
Morning, Mickey.
Mental health matters, and Dazzle, you make me so proud, and I'm glad to call you a friend. That's my main point.
Me too.
You scouts.
No worries. And you. You're both so strong.
Thank you for sharing your story, Dazzle.
Sorry, say again, Mickey.
Thank you for sharing your story. I can't get my words out. You made me emotional.
Oh.
Obviously, you know the basics of my story.
But I think it needs to be told.
Yeah. It does. I wish more men felt able to talk about it as well.
Yeah.
I really do. And women. But there's such a taboo around men's mental health, mm-hmm. and it needs to disappear.
It does. And it makes me sad for that. Okay, women suffer just as much, but I feel with women, and if you think differently, that's absolutely fine. But with women, there's more leniency, there's more understanding than what there is with men. And it all comes back to the stereotype of men need to be strong, men need to be this. I don't think men need to be anything. If men are having emotions and they want to share them and they're having struggles, that's 1,000,000 times more strength than if you were to bottle it up. Do you know what I mean?
I'll cut my story short because I don't want to steal anything away from Daz's side of the story. You know, the start of my story was what happened to me as a child. So I met my husband, and obviously my
stealing away is no different.
Yeah. Basically, me and my husband got together, and all in all, I've had 11 miscarriages.
Yeah.
On the 5th miscarriage, which was the one before my daughter, I went into, it wasn't a complete mental breakdown, but I had too much in my head, didn't know how to cope with it. My husband turned around to me one day. Basically, what was going on was I was having a miscarriage. My husband was going out, and I'm not putting this on him at all. He wasn't being selfish, but he'd go out and get his headspace, because I know now I was being a complete cow to him because of my self-suffering.
Yeah.
And he turned around to me one day, and I made a comment which was completely awful, but I did make a comment about someone in his family who I'd had arguments with. And with that, he said, "I don't want to be with you anymore." And he left. So that night, I went and did a night shift.
Yeah.
I was a support worker for learning disabilities at the time. Went and did a night shift. I come home that morning, and I texted him and I said, "Number one, you need to come and get the dog. I'm doing night shifts. He can't be alone all the time.
Yeah.
Number two, you need to come and get your stuff. I'll pop it in a bag, and you can come and grab it." So when I woke up that day, he came to get his stuff, and obviously, number one with mental health, number two with being tired from not sleeping anyway and doing night shifts. He came in, and I looked at him and I said, "Are you seeing someone else?" And he said, No. And with that, I snatched his phone out of his hand, and I looked, and he was messaging someone else, but it had only started since the day that he left.
Yeah.
Bearing in mind, this was about 4 years into our relationship. So my heart was completely broken. Not only was I suffering with the miscarriages before I was actually going through a miscarriage, I was losing what I thought was my soulmate. I knew in my head that it was not my fault. I felt it was my fault. Once again, the guilt comes into it, doesn't it? Because of how much I was suffering and how horrible I was being. I actually took an OD myself.
Oh, Mickey.
It was a whole pack of sleeping tablets, a whole pack of antidepressants, and 100 units of insulin.
Yeah.
I texted my mum, and we weren't very lovey-dovey, and all I said was, "I love you." And she said, "I'm coming." She didn't get there. My housemate, who was renting the room off us, he came down into the lounge, and I'd actually put boxes in front of the door. He had to barricade his way through, and he rang my mum and he said, "I think she's drunk." And my mum said, "No, she's probably having a hypo. I'll be there in a minute." Obviously, 100 units of insulin, and I was out of it, absolutely out of it. I went to hospital. I was unconscious for a couple of days. And then that's that part. And then obviously through dialysis, my mental health took a dive, but my daughter did keep me strong at this point. I think she was enough for me to fight the demons that were going on. Yeah, that's the ins and outs of my mental health. I've recently been suffering again. And my daughter's diabetes, when anything changes, it leads me back to what happens to me as a child and why I mistreated my diabetes. So I've now been diagnosed with CPTSD. And I don't know about you, Dazza, but I felt almost validated when they told me that, because I felt like I wasn't just losing my mind.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
They tried to give me counselling and therapy, and I can say it happened to me as a child, and I can say about the rest of my traumas. When they want me to go into details about what happened, I cannot physically do it. I cannot. It's always been my secret. I've never told my husband. I've been with him 13 years this year. I can't do it.
And that's your way of managing it. I think some people just don't feel comfortable talking about it and going through details about it, and that's absolutely fine. Don't ever feel pressured. If someone's trying to pressure you or you feel like uncomfortable, don't force yourself into a situation that you don't want to be in. But again, on the flip side, there are people who do go through counselling and are able to go through with every little detail, and it does help them.
It's like Daz has said, it's helped him massively, whereas everyone fights their battles in different ways.
Yeah, they do.
I certainly would prefer to help others than help myself, and I keep being told off for that.
Yes.
Especially on here. But I have the argument of, I will speak about my journey if it helps one person. Now, I got a beautiful message from somebody in America whose husband was in crisis and they didn't know what to do. And I was able to find some confidential groups that he could join, and she said he went and he was open to going. So for me, I've done my job. I've helped somebody, and that gives me a bit of peace, that I'm able to help one person. If I can help one person, and I've had 6 or 7 messages going, thank you ever so much, because, we never knew, and you don't. And people don't, because I suppose the one thing men do quite well is we're not emotional. And if ours is usually either very quiet or very aggressive, it's the 2 basic instincts. Men are very simple creatures. It's either we get very aggressive, very snappy, or we go very, very quiet. Now, I'm glad I went very, very quiet.
Yeah.
And I look back at my old relationship, and I don't blame my ex-partner for that reason, because I thought, well, probably maybe I did go quiet with everything that was going off in my head.
Yeah.
And I wasn't able to share it at that point, which caused that issue. So I don't blame them. I'm not going to say everything was rosy, because it wasn't, but I'm certainly not going to blame them for my mental health is years and years and years of turmoil that's built up over time.
Yeah.
And I think it's important that's what I believe that's what men do generally.
Yeah.
I'm not saying for all cases, because it isn't, but men will build it up and build it up, and then what they do is they'll explode in one way. I imploded. So you'll either explode or you'll implode. I imploded. I took it all out on me. It's my fault. The whole world's rubbish because it's my fault, and my family's better off without me. And that's how I felt. That was my... Yeah, absolutely.
I think that's what happened.
But sorry, Mickey, but I'm going to say this because it winds me up. The one thing I do hate is the mental health being used as the new bad back from the 70s.
Yeah.
Where they say, "Oh, you're triggering my mental health." Well, why are you on here then? If it's triggering, I lock down. When my mental health goes, I shut off. I close down.
Yeah.
I don't come on the app looking for drama. I don't come on, Facebook or any other social media app. I don't even speak to friends. I just go, I'm having a quiet day. I'm on the couch. I'm safe. I'm on the couch. I'm just concentrating on this battle. That's me.
Yeah. I can relate to that, because that's what I do.
The other week, Scouts, and it's what I did last week.
Yeah. I can relate a lot to that.
I just wanted to pick up on what you said a minute ago about men imploding or exploding. And that's what I realised when I said that my now husband left. I understand why, and I do understand that it was me not causing it as such, but he was also going for it. It wasn't just my miscarriage, it was his as well. And he was trying to help me, and I was throwing it back in his face. But we did get back together after a month or 2, and we saw each other, and that was it. we knew we still loved each other, and he completely understood, and he is a massive, massive support to me and my mental health.
Yeah.
So his mental health.
I call it a reset and a recharge, and I may need to have 1 or 2 a month, and it might take 1 day, and it might take 7 days. It depends on how severe the battle is.
Yeah,
definitely.
And I battle it. That's all I concentrate on is that battle, and for me, that's what I concentrate on.
Yeah.
And then I'll go, sorry I didn't ring. And I do it with my father now. I ring my father twice a week because he lives on his own. I lost my mum 18 months ago. He lives on his own. Oh, my stepmother. Sorry to confuse everybody. But I lost her 18 months ago. And, I ring him twice a week. But he knows if I say I'll ring you Sunday, if I don't ring him Sunday, he knows that I'm fighting. So he won't force the issue.
Yeah.
He won't force the issue. I'll just ring him up later and he'll go, how are you? And I'll go, I'm all right now. I've had I call it a quiet week, and he goes, I understand.
Bless him.
And it's that understanding, that acknowledgement that's empowering.
It is. It is. It makes a massive difference to have people there in your life that understand and can see where you're coming from, and they can relate to it. Is there anything else you want to add on, Darcy? Because I'm going to come off at 12 o'clock.
No, you can boot me whenever you're ready, Kate.
Are you sure?
No, you can boot me whenever you're ready.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you ever so much for that.
I'm proud of you too, Darcy, and thank you so much for coming on. I do appreciate it. Lots of love, honey. Thank you so much. Bye, hun.
Love you, sweetie.
And you.
Bye, darling.
Bye, hun. That was emotional. It really, really was. Let me just end this multi-guest and then maybe put some helplines up. I have got helplines up. Kate, there's a poll. There's a poll. There's literally a poll in the top left corner. Look. Trigger warning, discussing mental health. And there's this number for the Samaritans as well. It's been up the whole time. So please don't come in here trying to make out that I'm not putting a poll up. No! No, Kiki, I'm talking to Kate. Leave her out, don't block her or anything like that. But yeah, Alexa, continue. Let's put some music on and then I'll fizzle out and then I'll explain what my plan is for next Wednesday. Alexa, continue, please. So that was really, really sensitive, and I'm so proud of Dazza for coming on to the platform and talking about his story. I understand 110% that it's a very daunting prospect to do, to sit there and talk about your mental health. Also, thank you to Mickey for coming in as well and sharing her story. Again, another sensitive subject, really, really hard to talk about, and please don't ever feel like anyone's forcing you to talk about something, okay? If you don't feel comfortable doing it, or if you feel a certain way, listen to yourself. Listen to yourself first and foremost. That's the most important thing. So, I'm gonna thank you to everyone in the comments who's been talking about their own journeys as well. I'm sorry I have not been really reading the comments, but I have been noticing a couple of comments, so I really do appreciate the fact that you've been sharing information about yourselves. I'm going to put the mental health, let me just check, mental health check-in before we go, and I'll start that mental health check-in in the top left corner, guys, if you can complete that. So I was thinking that on a Wednesday, sorry I missed you this morning. Oh, don't worry about it, please don't worry about it, Jane. Okay? Don't worry about it. You know, you've got other things in real life to deal with, and that's absolutely fine. So on a Wednesday now, I'm going to be doing different awarenesses. Thank you so much for the heart me, Jane. I'm going to be doing different awarenesses. I'm going to be doing, next week is going to be awareness on postpartum depression, and we're going to look at it from a perspective of the mothers and the fathers as well. So it's going to be a complete whole. If you are someone who has suffered from this, I would really, really encourage you, if you do feel comfortable doing so, join the live. I'm going to be sharing my own story during that live, and I'll go into different parts of my mental health during that live. I'd like to speak on that if that's okay. Absolutely fine. Hello Panda, I hope you're okay. No worries, that's it. I love you the world. So I'd really, really love to do that, and I think it's important to talk about. Who's having a bad day? Jane, I'm so sorry, honey. What's going on? Let me message you, Jane. This live has been it's been different topics, and most of it's been heavy, and I do apologise for that. Tomorrow we're going to try and make it a little bit more fun. For you. Oh, I'll swear for you. I've literally I'm joking. I've literally got a comment. I've literally got a comment off my own live, not posted. Work stress, you'll be okay. Oh, sweetheart, I'm so sorry. Inbox me if you need help, okay? I've got to show you this, guys. This is absolutely ridiculous. Share feedback first, though. Ridiculous. Why have I got my own comment removed from my own live? Wait till you see it, guys. No worries, hon, no worries. Oh, night of me fool. Oh, thank you, William, for the tiny Danny and the lucky pigs. Thank you so much. Coffee and rest for me now. It's very draining, absolutely. And take all the time you need, okay? Right, let me reposition this, because I want to show you this picture. I've got a violation the other day for putting I can't believe I've got a violation for my own comments in my own live. That's ridiculous, is that it? Yeah. Look. I think he is hun. Sorry, caps. Lol. That was in my own comments. Honestly. Tomorrow's going to be a bit more fun. What makes you think you're special? You'll get... Because I'm the host. I'm the host. I shouldn't have to get... Oh, that's not fair, that. I get violations constantly in here. Prove me everything. Scout Scale, drop me an inbox and I will talk to you in inboxes if you feel comfortable in doing so. There's also pinned numbers at the top of my profile. I suppose everybody's got to get violations. But is everyone okay after that live, after that awareness discussion? Let me know, guys. So my battle round 2 of the tournament with Unity is on Saturday at 8 o'clock, and I'm going to do a poster and a video for it as well. I'm glad you're fine. I know they are, aren't they? Probably good I missed today. Probably. Okay, no worries, hon. Lots of love, honey, and always you're not droning on. Okay, Jane, no worries. So I've already spoke to the people who are having a bad day. I'll try to get there for you. Okay, thank you. I think I'm live 9 till 10 on Saturday and Sunday, but I can't remember off the top of my head. Thank you everyone who has joined. Thank you to everyone who's kept it respectful and listened. It's very, very, very much appreciated, and I can't tell you how much it means to myself, to Dazza, to Mickey, to people for listening. Thank you for the taps, thank you for the shares, and thank you for the gifts. Gifting is not an obligation. You have? I'm so sorry, Jojo. Gifting is not an no, it's triggered me and I'm devastated. It's triggered you, right? Okay, now let me say something, okay? I'm a live host, okay, and I take steps to be responsible in my live, okay? I not only had trigger warnings in the chat, I had a trigger warning in the poll as well. I am very, very sorry that if you come in here and you have been triggered by what we're discussing, I am very sorry about that. But you as an individual have to take responsibility for your own mental health. And if you know Gary Speed was a friend, okay, but if you know that is going to trigger you, if you know that mental health and talking about men's mental health is going to trigger you, you should click the X. I'm sorry, but how much more can I do? How much more can I do than putting a trigger warning in the comments, making it sure it stays up, and putting a poll up with a trigger warning? How much more do you want me to do? In all fairness, people can't see the poll unless they click onto it. People know it's there. People know it's there though. Do you know what I mean? Thank you for the lucky picks. Thank you. It flashes up as well when you enter the live. We always have it up. Oh, thank you, Meme Lou. Thank you for the boombox. New corners to your live won't know where you put the trigger warning. I always put it in the comments and in a poll. Why are people having a go at me? Honestly. Thank you, Meme Lou. Thank you for the heart, me MJ. That's not nice. Why? What's MJ said? Exactly. I've done a lot more than just, you know. It's not hidden, it always flashes. Well, quite clearly you are. I know. Why come in saying, oh, you've triggered me? Oh. Yeah. I asked. I didn't ask. It was a lovely life until people started, like, you know, you know what I mean? There's so many people that will back me up on this. I always put a trigger warning in the chat. I always put helplines or a trigger warning in the poll. It doesn't take you long to scroll. Doesn't take you long to scroll. Hiya Alex, thank you for the heart me. Hi Steph, thank you for the heart me. Do you know what I mean? I do everything that I can as a live creator to make sure that when we need to put the trigger warnings up, we do it. Oh, hiya Alex Beth, I'm coming off in a minute. Thank you, Meme Lou, for the heart me. And there's no hate or malice. Do you know what I mean? Thank you so much, guys. You don't need to get like that. You don't need to be like that. What is the need in saying that? If you need to speak about it privately, then inbox me, inbox someone, and we can have a chat privately about it. I said, first of all, I put trigger warnings in the chat. I do a poll with trigger warnings and helplines, and do you know what I mean? There's no need to be rude, or you could leave exactly. Yeah, exactly. We'll make a poster for it as well. I don't know how much more we can do. I know that, Miss Independent, but what more can I do? I don't know what people's triggers are, so how am I supposed to know? I know, Mickey, thank you for that. How am I supposed to know every single trigger for every single person on this app? Thank you for the helpful advice. Thank you. I'm coming off now before I start shouting my mouth off, because people you know what I mean. Has she? Well, there you go then. There you go then. Says it all, doesn't it? Says it all, doesn't it? Exactly. Thank you. And I'm going to come off now. I'm going to be back on tomorrow. We're going to carry on rolling, doing what we do, because I'm not being funny, but there's a lot more people who watch me, who can see me for the genuine person that I am. And I know the person that I am, and I'm not going to sit there and have anybody tell me otherwise. It's as simple as that. So lots of love to everyone. Thank you for everyone who's gifted. Oh, thank you, Steph, for the butterfly. Thank you. There was a trigger warning put up throughout. Do you know what I mean? I always make sure. I'm sorry, I like this song. I forgot what I was going to say. No, it's not going to ruin my day. Exactly, the warning's still there now. So everyone, I'll see you tomorrow. Gifting is not an obligation, but it's very, very helpful. Not helpful, sorry. Very much appreciated. So I'll see you tomorrow morning around about 10 past, 9:15 for the FYP shenanigans. And hopefully we'll have more of a upbeat live tomorrow. Lots of love, guys. Have a lovely day.